Hello and welcome to the City of Clearwater Opportunity Zone panel discussion. My name is Abby Maloney and I'm the President and CEO of Capital Analytics, the producers of Invest Tampa Bay, a comprehensive business review. For today's discussion, we have partnered with the City of Clearwater to bring light to the possibilities and potential of the area of land known as Census Tract 259, more commonly known as the City of Clearwater's Opportunity Zone. Our panel today consists of experts and individuals leading the charge for development in this area. Today, our speakers will cover a variety of topics, including what an opportunity zone is, the types of developments that qualify for these zones, and why the Clearwater Opportunity Zone is vital for the future growth and revitalization of the city. This in-depth conversation unpacks how the development and investment into the Clearwater Opportunity Zone is serving the middle market by addressing glaring needs of the community. The City of Clearwater is an eager partner for those considering projects in its Opportunity Zone. For those interested, you can find a comprehensive prospectus document on the city's unique assets and incentives at myclearwater.com/opportunity zone. And now I'll pass it over to our regional editor, Max Crampton-Thomas, who will be leading today's discussion. Max, take it away.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the City of Clearwater Opportunity Zone panel discussion. I will be your moderator today. My name is Max Crampton-Thomas. I'm the regional editor for Capital Analytics and the publication Invest Tampa Bay. Joining me today are some wonderful industry experts, including Denise Sanderson with the City of Clearwater, Brian Linseth with KLB Business Law, Derek Mateos with Matcon Construction, and Janine Blake with OpZone Capital. Welcome to you all. I figure we should just jump right in, and I think it's important to kind of set the stage for what exactly an opportunity zone is and what types of investments qualify for these zones. So Brian, I thought that'd be a good place for you to start, and then we'll go from there.
Sure, I'd be happy to give just a short history. So Opportunity Zone, the idea was to incent people that had capital gains rolled up in other projects to go ahead and trigger those gains, and then to take them and reinvest them in certain designated areas where the Internal Revenue Service felt that needed some incentive and some reinvestment. So what they did a couple of years ago is ask the governors of each state to nominate certain census tracts, and each zone is an independent census tract. There's so the governors of various states nominated certain tracts that met an income criteria, and then the IRS selected them. So we ended up with about 8,700 census tracts around the country that met this criteria as sort of an economically disadvantaged area that could use some capital influx. So that's how we designated each of these zones. And what that really means is for an investor that has a gain event, they can take the portion that they desire to defer or reinvest in an opportunity zone, and they can put that to work in projects within that zone. And by putting that to work, really what that means is one of a couple of three things: either acquiring a piece of property within those zones that they can substantially improve and invest in, or they can acquire original use property or vacant ground and actually build something, or they can acquire an ownership interest in what's called a qualified opportunity zone business, which is a business that operates within those zones. So it's a little bit of a background of what they are. As far as what types of investments, it works very, very well for any kind of a real estate application, whether it's retail, commercial, office, multifamily. But it's important to remember too that operating businesses can definitely be funded using OpZone deferral funds. I know either now or later in the discussion, I'd be happy to give you kind of a little bit of an overview of what the benefits for an investor are. So you can let me know if you'd like me to go into that now, or if we want to address that in a bit.
We'll definitely touch upon that in a little bit. That was a wonderful kind of overview of what it is, what types of investments qualify. And I want to throw this out kind of just to whomever in this discussion would be best. what does that kind of typical opportunity zone investment look like? And I guess on top of that is who really does it benefit?
Well, okay, so it benefits really two different groups. One is the investor, because they get to take advantage of one of the best gain deferral techniques that we've ever seen. So the advantage is to the investor, and the investor is the person that experiences a gain event and has some 1231 capital gain that they would like to exclude from their return in the year that they experience the event. So what they do is elect ops on deferral, and the benefits include they don't have to include their gain on their current tax return. They can defer that till at least 2026, but discussions are being had right now at the federal level about extending that even further. And if you make that that deferral election in the year 2021, you'll be able to take advantage of an additional 10% off of the tax that you'll have to pay ultimately when it's due. And the final and probably the best incentive is that if you hold an investment if you hold a qualified investment within one or more opportunity zones for at least 10 years, you earn the right to make an elective back-end basis adjustment and move your basis all the way up to market value whenever you elect after that 10-year period. It is important to remember that once you earned that right, you can continue to hold your investment for another 15, 20, up to 25 years, up till 2047. And really the gain in the value of that investment becomes fully tax-free. So that's definitely a significant investment or advantage, an opportunity for the investors. Now, for the projects and for people that want to implement qualified projects within the opportunity zones, it represents not just an increased access to funds, but long-term funds. So the investor incentives mean that the returns on a qualified project are greater than a non-qualified project and likely to attract more investment capital. In addition, that capital that comes in is likely to be a longer term. Some non-qualified investments may look to return that capital earlier than the 10-year hold period, but op zone regulations have been structured in a way to kind of provide longer term investments and hopefully gain that stability for certain economically disadvantaged areas.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's important, because that we're speaking specifically on the city of Clearwater's opportunity zone, to really identify where this opportunity zone is within the city of Clearwater, and some of the developmental opportunities that currently exist there. I think the best person to start that conversation will be Denise. So Denise, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Max. Our opportunity zone is Census Tract 259. It is comprised of more than 850 acres, and it's inclusive of our downtown area. The zone overlooks the Intercoastal Waterway and our world-famous Clearwater Beach. And I think because of its location, it's uniquely able to offer a wide variety of attractive investment opportunities.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. From any of the panelists here perspectives, from your own personal perspective, what makes the Clearwater Opportunity Zone an attractive place to have a development?
Well, I think quite often public investment precedes private investment. And right now the city is undertaking a $64 million redevelopment of our 22-acre waterfront park. We refer to it as Imagine Clearwater, and it is intended to revitalize and really help us reimagine our downtown. The project is framed by 5.25 acres of prime investment opportunity comprised of 3 sites, and the city is currently seeking proposals for catalytic development in this downtown core. But within the opportunity zone, there are 3 character districts, each with defined development potential, including building heights, densities, and policies that are unique to each district. And south of this area is what we refer to as our wellness district. And this is located near Morton Plant Hospital, which itself made a recent $200 million investment into that facility. So I think there are many, many opportunities and a lot of flexibilities in those zoning districts and character districts.
Absolutely, absolutely. And was there anyone else that wanted to add in there, just as far as what makes it an attractive place to develop? Janine?
Well, I think the different incentives that are being offered as well, layered on top of the opportunity zones, are important to talk about. Specifically in downtown Clearwater, your CRA fund, $5 million total spread over 4 years towards workforce housing and or cultural type amenities like you're talking about for that bluff area. There's a parking fund and just overall reduction of impact fees. So I feel like all of those incentives layered on top of the opportunity zone in one of the most sought after locations in Florida, it's a no-brainer in my opinion. And I say that I am a native of Clearwater, 49 years old, and I don't have any plans on moving anywhere else. So we do live in paradise.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Derek, did you want to add something there?
Absolutely, Max. And I just want to add to Brian's point earlier. I mean, when you look at the view, our view on the development side, the fact that this site that we have here is kind of on the south side of downtown, and we're trying to serve the middle market, right? So just we saw the need. We know it's there. Just identifying these emerging markets, I think, is another big plus to the Opportunity Zone program. And to Janine's point, I mean, there's no doubt that the city of Clearwater, who's been fantastic to work with as we've progressed with the entitlement of the property, there's a need there, and we're glad that we're here and trying to fulfill it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Derek, I actually I want to stay here with you for a second, just because I think you'd offer a unique perspective, and then I'd love to hear from the other panelists. Why is it important to take advantage of programs that are offered like opportunity zones? Obviously we know the overall benefit is to help revitalize an area, but from your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, kind of as I was stating earlier, I mean, we're looking for properties where we can see that need, and in this particular area in Clearwater, that middle market is completely underserved. There's a lot of, and our project obviously it's an assisted living facility, middle market, and you could just tell that it just needed a little bit more than it had in there, a nicer, newer product. So, just being able to identify and see that need has been a big benefit for us.
Absolutely.
I might come on the heels of that and say that, you've got 900 plus people daily moving to Florida. The Tampa Bay area, Clearwater specifically, has a huge piece of that 900 folks moving. Over 20% of our population is 65 and older. You've always been a high retirement community, right, in this area, and that's only going to continue to grow with the big exodus happening out of New York and out west. And from my healthcare background, I can tell you that using an opportunity zone, again, to Brian's point, brings in that private investor capital to a project that is already appealing from an investment standpoint. And then you layer on the tax incentive, you layer in city incentive, and it just sweetens the return for the investor. But more importantly, from the community standpoint, and I think I've said this 100 times, I feel like you're healing the community from the inside out. You're going into these areas that need the development, and you're providing a product that is affordable, right? And more importantly, or not more importantly, but equally as important, you're providing jobs, right? And when people work somewhere, what else do? They typically live and play there as well. So you're probably going to enhance your community and your population growth, which will then overflow into other amenities that will be needed and continue to grow that community, if that makes sense. sometimes I talk in circles.
I piggyback both off of what Derek and Janine have just pointed out, and several recent studies of both specific industries as well as just the migration of people have indicated that post-COVID, there's an increasing number of people that are moving to areas of the country like Clearwater, and that area, that region, ranks very high on many, if not most, of those national and regional studies. So there's a growing influx of people that I think has even increased in the current environment that we see.
Mm-hmm. Brian, just while we're with you, then, we're talking about the Clearwater Opportunity Zone here, but do you have any examples of some Opportunity Zone success stories that you've seen in cities with similar sizes and to some of the similar kind of gaps in the revitalization efforts that Clearwater is currently trying to go through? If you have any success stories in regards to how they use their Opportunity Zones to further their growth.
Yeah, so I've worked with opportunity funds and qualified opportunity zone businesses all across the country, throughout the Northwest, the Northeast, the Phoenix area, the Chicago area, and many of those communities have seen projects that were delayed. They're good projects. People wanted to do them, but they just couldn't quite get them to pencil. But this incentive has kind of pushed them over the edge, made them implementable. We just implemented recently one in a 100-plus-year-old historic building that the city and the area always knew should be done. But those are projects that are just with only traditional capital. They're a little bit hard to implement, and there seems to always be another project that is just a little bit better, so that they sat for a number of years, and we're just about to certificate of occupancy for at least a couple of those projects in really great downtown areas. And you've seen cities and other municipalities really appreciate the growth, and kind of the some of it's been in peripheral areas or areas just outside of kind of the main focus. Others have been areas that are inside, in the urban core that just needed some revitalization. So it's been a really effective tool at kind of taking those peripheral projects and making them implementable.
On that same note, Denise, I wanted to ask one quick question here, and hopefully there's a good answer behind it. As the city of Clearwater eyes different developments and different investment into the Opportunity Zone that is present in the city, are there any other similar cities and successes that you all are basing off of or using as a model for how you're encouraging development and investment in your Opportunity Zone?
Well, I think often imitation is the greatest form of flattery. And so we're certainly looking at best practices out there. We've been looking at other cities and the marketing that they're doing, the prospectuses that they're offering, and really trying to craft ours to really help drive that investment. Are we looking at other cities and what kind of investment they've received? Yes, sort of. But I think what's most important is similar to putting any kind of deal together, it's really the funding stack. And along with that comes the incentive stack from the public side. And so we're looking at and have evaluated and brought forward incentives that can really help make that deal, get that deal over the finish line, as Brian said. And so in addition to some of the things that Janine mentioned earlier, we've got programs like Facade Loan to Grant. For eligible projects, there's also ad valorem tax exemption, high impact business performance grants, new market tax credits, brownfield redevelopment bonus, density bonus. So a wide variety of things to really help us respond to what is needed to get those projects. So you can certainly go online at myclearwater.com/opportunity zone to review our prospectus, and we're happy to answer any questions for any investors that are looking to find a home here in Clearwater.
Derek, I wanted to aim this question at you because one of the biggest things, and we've touched upon it a couple of times during this conversation, is that opportunity zones are not only helping to revitalize a community, but answer some of the gaps that exist within a community. And for instance, you're developing this assisted living facility. If you could speak a little bit to one, your development and what it's going to be helping the community with, and two, the opportunity you see within these zones, these opportunity zones, to continue to fill these gaps that exist within communities.
Yeah, absolutely, Max. We'd love to. So the name of our project, guys, is Clearwater Garden Senior Living, and we targeted this property quite some time ago, back in 2018, right when the Opportunity Zone, was in its infancy, right? We saw the need in the area, and we've gone down the process and have been able to entitle the property for a 125 bed assisted living facility. So we're very excited about that. We've had several market studies and analysis that we've done on the area, and there's no doubt, as Janine mentioned, there's a huge need. There's about 1,000 bed shortfall in that market and growing. Obviously, our project, has been, timing wise has been a little difficult due to COVID, but we look at it as an advantage. We look at it as now we get to design to COVID considerations and standards, and we'll be delivering a nice, new, clean facility in an area that desperately needs it. And like I mentioned earlier, the city was very welcoming and good to work with. They knew this was something that was good in the area. And I hope that other developers will do the same. Amazing opportunity, obviously, in downtown Clearwater. Pretty exciting with the RFP that's out there now. So this is, I think, a great example of what the program is and what it really should be doing for the community, and especially when it's pretty obvious that's really what's needed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And Denise, I'm going to refer back to you. I know you touched upon some of them, but I wasn't sure if you want to dig any further into it. How are the other developments, of course, outside of Derek's, that are currently being planned and executed in the Clearwater Opportunity Zone, helping to fill the gaps that currently exist within the local community?
Sure. We have a very high concentration of high-tech workers, particularly in the IT software industry. And so we're looking for market rate rental for both high-rise and mid-rise in our downtown and other character districts that are inclusive of the core. As I've mentioned, Morton Platte Hospital is a premier hospital in the district. And of course, some of those lower skill, low wage jobs, we need homes for those as well. And so that low to moderate income project is also something that we're seeking. Definitely need rental housing of all income types, workforce, market rate, and even luxury. So that's certainly a high need that we have and projects that we're seeking. But along with that are all of those sort of live, work, other components. So office, retail, commercial, all of those uses really are, quite frankly, in demand as our IT sector continues to grow here.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we constantly hear, in our own research of working for a media company, is we speak a lot about opportunity zones and what kind of incentive does it provide to developers and investors. And I'd say the answers can sometimes be split between those that really see the benefit and those that are like, well, it's kind of like an icing on the cake type situation where maybe it's not the main incentive. I think that there's a lot of misconception around what opportunity zones are, who they benefit, what they benefit. And I think it's important for us to discuss a little bit about some of, the biggest misconceptions in regards to opportunity zones, and then what the actual reality is. So I know everyone here probably can speak to that, but I would start first either with Brian or Janine. I don't mind either one. Brian?
Well, I'll jump in here for just a second and turn it over to Janine. But so, I think of a couple of the misconceptions, opportunity zone incentives, just like any other incentive, they don't make a bad project a good one. So that, you do have, the project does have to make sense, which back to Denise's point, because of all of the incentives, the additional incentives that Clearwater is able to offer, that with the opportunity zone benefit really makes it an attractive place to look to implement a project. The other difficulty we've seen sometimes is in either an investor or a project sponsor's professional team's familiarity with op zone requirements. So we've Janine and I have worked together on a number of things to try to say to other developers and other investors, just call us. We'd be happy to talk through with your professional team, your accountants, your attorneys, how these things work, familiarize you with them, get your professional teams in touch with some of the teams that we use that provide those services on a regular basis. So, and that helps in gaining the, if an investor's professional team, or as Derek will probably tell you, as a project implementer's professional team understands these things more, they're far more ready, willing, and able to utilize those incentives to their best advantage.
Janine, did you want to add to that?
Yes, I think the disadvantage to the program, to add on to what Brian is saying, is not enough people know about it and not enough people understand it. And to his point, that's why that's our approach. That's our niche, actually, is talking with, being the conduit, bringing everyone together, the development teams, the investors, et cetera, because if you don't understand it, what happens? It's kind of like when I was a kid, believe it or not, I had a problem with math, right? You don't understand it. You don't want to do your homework, right? You don't want to learn to do the problem solving. But all of a sudden, when it clicks and you understand, all of a sudden it becomes fun, right? Then it becomes a puzzle. Then you want to put the puzzle together. I think the problem is people don't understand the program well enough, and if they find the right person, like Brian and I do, we can bring it all together and show all of the different incentives and how the project can work and how it benefits everyone, the community and the investor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we obviously have a new administration in office, and a lot of questions remain about what is the opportunity zone designation? Will it be extended? So given the challenges around COVID-19 in 2020, and with this in mind as well, do you believe that the federal opportunity zone designation will be extended? I don't mind who we start with here. I guess we can start with Brian. It looks like he has something to say, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, that's a question that that gets asked a lot, and even people don't ask it, it's probably on their mind. One of the things that we've seen is in this, the administration changes, that both sides of the aisle remain committed to this program. They have slightly different ideas of where it should head in the future. We've seen quite a bit of grace and leniency in certain deadlines related to COVID. And so some of the deadlines, even dating back to gains that occurred in 2019 transactions, in certain instances can still be deferred and invested. Certainly the 2020 and current extensions have been granted up to March 31st of 2021. Those may or may not be extended. We'll see how that goes. There's discussions about extending some of the additional program deadlines out a couple of years, and those are being discussed right now at the highest levels. We've had the opportunity to visit with several sponsors of the original program, including Senator Tim Scott and others they're having ongoing conversations, and every indication that we have seen is that both sides like the program and want to continue it, and that a full-scale a departure from the program is not likely. There have been discussions from each side about some of the selected zones and whether or not they ought to, whether or not some of those zones need the incentives or not. But those are really the only discussions that we see currently getting a lot of traction.
what would that mean then for the projects that are currently in opportunity zones and were specifically developed there for the benefits?
Just like any other area of taxation or regulation, projects that that are implemented and investments that are made now under the current regime will be entitled to continue the benefits granted under that regime. The only thing that would change, even in the unlikely event that there's a significant change in the rules or legislation, those would affect future projects that would be intending to be implemented. It wouldn't affect those that took advantage of the program under the current structure. So if anything, it's an incentive for people to look now to put your to invest in these projects and lock in the benefits that are currently associated with the program.
Absolutely. And then finally, and I'd like to kind of go down the line with this question because I feel everyone can add their perspective, their opinion on this. And the question is, how will investment into Clearwater's Opportunity Zone play a role in the economic recovery and also the future growth of the region? I'm going to go ahead and start with Derek, and then we'll kind of work down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're happy that we're in it. We're working towards that goal. I love hearing what Denise had to say earlier. I think I'm going to go visit her next week and see if there's some other areas and properties that we can continue to do this. And I think that's it. It's as simple as that. I mean, there's no doubt it's a high growth state, high growth market. And if we just continue to get these developers that come in and, you get a project or two and the cycle will continue. So I think that's the hope and that'll service the need as well.
Absolutely. Jane?
Yes, well, I think the growth will continue to the point of migration into Florida. Tampa Bay being a super high growth city within Florida, Clearwater having always been a big demand of that Tampa Bay area. And as we grow, again, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse here, but people live, play, and work typically within a 5 to 10 mile radius, roughly. Our average commute time is 22 minutes, right, to work in the local area. I feel like the more development that happens, again, creates more jobs because you're not just building brick and mortar, you're creating businesses inside of that brick and mortar, which is going to cause more demand, which will cause more development based on various additional needs that come from the community. I believe there will be spillover into other markets such as Tampa. We all know more people that live above Omerton Road in Pinellas County. They don't typically go south, right? They typically go over to Tampa. And the same for the southern part of the county, they go to Tampa. So I believe we will, and the people that live north also go to Pasco County. So I think that you're going to see additional spillover as the growth takes place, and it will grow from the inside out. I really, it's just, again, it's migration, development, and then spillover.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Ryan?
I think that Clearwater has so many things going for it right now. Not only is it just a terrific area to live, work, and play, but it's also become a greater focus. The area has gained greater focus post-COVID, and with a number of factors weighing in there. And the city of Clearwater is positioned so well with some of the additional incentives that can be added to the benefits of Opportunity Zone to just gain an unbelievable amount of traction in some great projects that will continue to spur surrounding development for years to come.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And finally, Denise.
Well, thank you. They have made my job very easy. Thank you, panelists. But from my perspective, I think our governor has been so progressive in how he has kept Florida open. and that's not gone unnoticed. Clearly, and as I mentioned at the start of this conversation, we're home to world famous Clearwater Beach. Tourism is a big component of our economy, and we're looking at figures that frankly are quite stunning. Pent-up demand is driving tourists to this area, but as Janine said, people are also relocating to this area from the Northeast and from states out west. They're coming to Florida in droves, and there is a lot of reason behind that. It's free of personal income tax. It's got tremendous opportunities, a wide variety of employment opportunities, certainly. A fantastic quality of life. We're known for sports in this area. It's no mistake that we have a 60 some odd year, almost 70-year relationship with the Philadelphia Phillies for spring training. There is an incredible quality of life here, and people have begun truly to take notice of Clearwater's place in the Tampa Bay region. And I think that the opportunity zone, while it's a wonderful opportunity for investors, I think it really just helps bring together for our downtown in particular, where we have an emerging arts and cultural scene occurring down there. I think it really is a perfect time to consider Clearwater for all of these reasons and more.
Definitely. I want to thank all of our great panelists here today for a wonderful discussion. I think not only has it revealed the potential for Clearwater's Opportunity Zone, but also what the future may hold for the region. I want to thank everyone for watching this video, and I'm going to go ahead and kick it back to Abby.
What a fabulous discussion. Thank you to our panelists in the City of Clearwater. Again, for those that are considering projects in the City of Clearwater Opportunity Zone, be sure to visit myclearwater.com/Opportunity Zone. Thank you again for tuning in today.